One of my most favorite things to do is to take a card that I see online and try and figure out how to flip it into a 12 by 12 layout for my scrapbook. A lot of times they're more statement pages and I use them for title pages, or I use them for the start of a section in my scrapbook. In this case, I'll probably use it as the start of my West Virginia trip, which we're going on in a few weeks. So I think it's super fun. And so
here's the card by Tammy White that inspired this layout that we're going to be working on today.
So when I saw this card, I thought, oh, this card would be so fun to flip with our new Deeper in the Woods collection. And so that's what I did here. And then I designed how many pictures I thought would fit on it comfortably so that you don't lose the design. So I'm pretty excited with how it turned out. And now I am going to show you how to do it. And I'm going to use the Passport to Adventure collection because I think this would be a very fun intro page to a travel album. So that's what we're going to do today, and I'm super excited to show you how I flipped this. It's actually really easy to do, and you only need 2 pieces of paper. So actually that's not true. You need 3 pieces of paper. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fold our paper, and that's this green paper right here. So in order to do that, put my paper on my mat, and I'm going to use this side just so I can see it better. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a line at 6 inches. And then on each side, you need a line at 4. You need a line at 8. You need a line at 11. Okay, once we do that, I'm going to move my mat back out of the way for a minute. I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and we're going to need the scoring blade. If you don't have a scoring blade, you can actually use a straight ruler and either a bone folder, if you have that, or your multi-purpose tool, the sharp end. What you're doing is you're going to score lines of where we're going to fold. So in my case, I'm going to use the scoring blade.
And what we're going to do is we're going to score the lines that we're going to fold. So for this first cut, we're going to line it up at the 6-inch center mark to the 4-inch mark. So that's what we're going to do, line it up as carefully as we can and then score it. And now we're going to tilt the paper and we're going to keep it on the 6-inch mark, but put the other side on the 8-inch mark. And then we're going to score it. And then finally, we're going to keep it again on the 6-inch mark, but now we're going to score it on the 11-inch mark. And these will be the 3 lines that we need in order to fold the paper.
And then we're going to do the same thing. Oh, you know what? We need to do it on the opposite side so we can see the lines and it'll fit into our trimmer. So I'm going to mark it again at 6 inches. And then I'm going to mark it at 4 inches, 8 inches, and 11 inches. Bring it back in, line it up at 6 and at 2, or 4, sorry, 6 and 4. Score. And then we're going to line at 6 and 8. And then one last time at 6 and 11. Okay, so that's all we need of our scoring blade.
So now we're going to fold our paper, and it's an in, out, in, out. So we're going to make our first fold at the 11-inch mark, and we're folding it in. Then the next score line, which was at the 8-inch score, we're going to fold that out. And then finally, the last fold, which was at the 4-inch score line, we're going to fold back in. And once we do that, we have our cute little fan fold, just like this. So now we're going to do the other side. We're going to take the first fold at the 11 inches and we're going to fold it in. Then the second fold at the 8 inch, we're going to fold out. And the last fold line, again, at the 4 inches, we're going to fold it back in. And I had a little bit of trouble with this paper. It was really stiff, and because it was so dark, I couldn't see my score lines very well. So just be cautious of that. And I probably, if I use this paper again, might use a Sharpie or something like that just so I could see my lines a little bit better. But once you get them folded, you end up with this really cute design, which is what goes on our paper.
And what I do is I just put a little bit of tape to help keep my edges down. We can just set this to the side for a second. Now we're going to bring our cutting mat back in. And now with this is your designer paper that you want to use to decorate your fold with. So this is going to be the triangles on the edge, and it's also going to be the triangle in the center. So where we want to put this, we want to mark it at 6, and then we want to mark it a pretty good mark, so like an inch over, because we're actually going to have to trim this down a little bit. So we're going to mark this at 1 inch. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so we got a mark at 6 and then 2 marks at 11. Now, before we score, we've got to trim this paper down. And we're going to trim this paper down by 1/2 inch. That's why I said to make this big. So we're taking off a 1/2. And we're taking off another 1/2. All right, now we're going to bring our scoring blade, now what we're going to do is we're going to trim. And you're going to go from the 6 inch up here to where your 11 inch mark is. And that's going to remove 1 triangle. That's 1 triangle. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, 6 and 11. And that's our second triangle. Okay, we're at the finish line. So I don't have a complete piece of cardstock of this paper left. So I'm going to piecemeal mine a little bit. And what I'll do is I'm going to secure that piece down, and then this piece on top of it. It won't matter, you won't be able to see this piece because it's going to be covered. But ideally, you would have a complete piece of paper that you could use to put down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our triangles, and 1 is going to go on this side, and 1 is going to go on this side, and then this one will go here in the center, and then our little triangle fits perfectly on the top. So that's what we're going to do. But first, I need to fix my bottom paper. Now I'm going to adhere my triangles. And when you do this, make sure that you get your tips really well done with your adhesive. I use repositionable just in case I need to move mine. It doesn't get placed perfectly. And I'm going to do it at about 1/4 inch from the bottom and from the side. And I'll use my ruler to help me get it on straight. one side, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my second one. Again, I'm going to hear it 1/4 of an inch in. Perfect. And now I'm going to take my fan, and I am going to use a permanent one on this, just to make sure that it stays secure. And I'm going to line this one up at the top. And then lastly, our last triangle. Again, making sure that we get it secured at the top. And there we have our design. So now all we have to do is decide what kind of pictures we want to put on here. In this one, I did a bunch of 4x3s, but on this one, maybe it's travel at the airport, and I have a couple 4x6s, and then I just need to embellish. And I could do something like this. And then this would be my layout. Maybe I'll go ahead and I'll adhere these. I would probably cut mats just because I'm a mat girl. I like mats. So I will I'm going to cut a 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 mat. I just find for me that when I put a mat on, especially when I have a white background, I don't ever like white on white because I feel like you lose your picture. So I usually will do a matte just so I don't lose my picture. And I'm just laying them right now because I want to make sure I get them exactly where I want them before I press them down. Now I did not put any adhesive on the back of this so that I'll be able to slide my pictures in without an issue. And my last little one right here, forming my triangle with my layout. And there you go. So that is my card flip. I love it. I think it's just so fun. It's just a fun little technique to do. So there you have it. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. All right, bye.